Hello, it's Monica from Crafting with Quilling Lady, and today I've got my first Christmas edition tutorial on my channel this year, and I'm going to use free gift from Simply Cards and Papercraft, and I'm going to show you how to create 3 Christmas Kinetic cards. If you haven't created any Kinetic Christmas cards, I really hope today is the day and you will feel inspired to craft along with me. As you can see, we're going to use Beautiful Baubles, and that is a free gift from Simply Cards and Papercraft issue 234. In the magazine you can find lots of beautiful ideas and projects, and on page 17 there is my card. If you haven't seen the tutorial, the link is in the top right corner if you want to check how to create this project. For the project today, I'm going to use a free gift called Beautiful Baubles, and it is designed by Chloe's Creative Cards. As you can see, the stamp set is really beautiful, but it also comes with a cutting die, and I'm going to use both of the elements for all today's project. I really wanted to stay with the same color palette for all 3 projects, so first I'm going to start with a small piece of card, and this one is 300 GSM white stamping card, and I'm going to do some heat embossing. So I use my anti-static bag, and I'm going to stamp my images with clear VersaMark ink, because later on I'm going to use gold embossing powder. And I do wonder, how often do you create Christmas cards with bubbles? Please let me know in the comments down below. I absolutely love using them because they really make me think about traditional Christmas, so I just couldn't resist when I saw that beautiful stamp set by Chloe's Creative Cards. Now it is time to sprinkle a little bit of gold embossing powder, and now I can stamp more images, because as you can see, VersaMark ink is transparent ink, so I couldn't really see where I stamped my images. And if you want to fill the whole background, that is the way to go. And it's always a good idea to actually have a scrap piece of card underneath, or copy paper, so you can use the excess of the embossing powder and put it back in the jar. Now I'm going to heat set the powder, and I absolutely love this gold embossing powder, and I think it works so well for Christmas. Now I'm going to add a few details, so I'm going to use VersaMark pen to create some strings or threads coming from the bubbles. I think it is the easiest way to do it. But first, it's always a good idea to use anti-static bag, because we don't want those fingerprints on our background. And it is time to sprinkle our gold embossing powder and heat set it. And our background for the first project will be nearly done. You can keep it like this with gold and white, or you can add some color. And today I decided to use some aqua markers from Spectrum Noir, and I'm going to use Beautiful Crafter's Purple color, Cool Marine, and Fresh Verdant. And all the names of the products I use in today's video you can check in the description down below if you want. And if you use my affiliate links, that really supports my channel, so thank you so much. As you can see, I just scribble colors here and there, and I'm going to use my spray bottle to actually mix and blend all those colors together. If you want, you can also use some watercolor card, and that would be perfect for this technique. Now, using my wet paintbrush, I just spread the color around. I just want to make sure that it actually touches all the bubbles. And I do wonder, what do you think about this color palette so far? I think it's a really good combination of colors for Christmas. It is a little bit unusual, but with a modern twist. And I do wonder, have you ever used that color palette for Christmas projects? If you have, please let me know in the comments down below. What did you create? And it's always a good idea to heat set it, and you can use a tissue to lift off some color if you want. And now I'm going to decorate the bubbles using Beautiful Green, and I actually use all 3 colors in that pen, because these are Tricolour markers from Spectrum Noir, which means you've got 3 different aqua markers inside every pen. And that is so amazing, because in one pen you can have variety. And what's really good about those pens, as you can see, they blend really beautifully with water. And I do wonder, do you like using aqua markers or watercolor markers in your projects? If you do, what card do you use? Do you use 300 GSM white stamping card, or do you prefer watercolor card? Now it is time to create some elements, and I'm going to use that die, and I'm going to die cut it twice, and also I'm going to leave that embellishment for my future project. Now I'm going to die cut it once, and actually one more time, just the bubble itself. And using my pokey tool, I'm actually going to get rid of all those small elements, which I'm going to use later with the other card. So yes, you can save all those bits, and we can actually use that die cut as a stencil. I actually saw that idea in the magazine, and I thought this is perfect. I really like it, so I thought, why not? Let's use it for the first project. Just to make sure that nothing really moves when we apply any color, I'm going to use my low tack tape. It's always my go-to tape. And now I'm going to use 3 Distress Oxide inks, because I think they work so well with the aqua markers we use for the background. And as you can see, I really try to stay consistent with the color palette, and I actually use the same colors throughout all those 3 cards. And I do wonder, when you create your cards, do you create a small collection, like 3 or 5 cards at the same time, or do you just create one project? So please let me know in the comments down below. And as I mentioned before, every single Thursday now on my channel, I'm going to have some beautiful Christmas projects with amazing inspiration. So if you haven't hit that subscribe button, I really hope today is the day, and hit that notification bell so you get informed about every single video I post. And actually, on Saturday, I'm going to have absolutely amazing tutorial for you using beautiful design papers by a friend of mine. And if you're interested how to create 3 totally different cards with one collection, just stay tuned for that video. As you can see, I applied a little bit of thread, and using my red liner tape, I attached it. And it's always a good idea to burnish it properly with a pokey tool. Now I've got my card base, which is 6 by 6 inches. It is time to peel off the backing of our double-sided tape, and we can put it on our card base. And it's always a good idea to add a few drops of liquid glue before you assemble all the elements together. And as usual, I've got my one and only liquid glue, magic glue. Off camera, I also created gold mirror card frame, because I think that works so well with those gold bubbles. And I also have some acetate, and I'm going to cut it to the size of my frame. Super quick and easy, and for that you don't really need any special dies. You can just use your scissors, and I do encourage you to do it as well. And now I'm going to use some red liner tape. This one is 3mm from Crafter's Companion. As you can see, I'm nearly done with it, so I'm going to use a new one in a few seconds. And I think this is the easiest way to actually apply the acetate on your project, using red liner tape. However, if you have a better trick, please let me know in the comments down below. I also wonder, have you got that magazine, Simply Cards Papercraft, issue 234? If you do, have you created the project with the free gift, Beautiful Baubles? Please let me know in the comments down below, because I would love to see your beautiful creations. When this is done, I'm going to start assembling all the card together, and I'm going to use a little bit of red liner tape just at the top of my frame and attach the string. As you can see, it's always a good idea to tangle it a little bit, and I'm going to apply double-sided foam adhesive on the frame itself. And now I've got a little bit of baby powder, and using my dry paintbrush, I'm going to apply that powder on the side of a foam tape. And this is very crucial, because we are going to create a shaker card, and I don't want that die cut bubble to actually be stuck to the sides. So this is the trick for you. And now I'm applying a few gold sequins. I think they work so well with the color palette. How often do you create Christmas shaker cards? Please let me know in the comments down below. Also, last year on my channel, I created very similar card, but with a different stamp set. If you haven't seen that, the link is in the top right corner. I really hope you will enjoy it because it was so much fun to create. So when this is ready, we can put our frame on our card base, and as you can see, our project is done. What do you think about this? Whenever you create a shaker card, just make sure all the tape is adhered to your card base, and the bubble moves, all the sequins move, and yes, we are done and ready for project number 2. And now I've got the same 3 Distress Oxide inks, and I'm going to do some ink blending. To be honest, at this point, I didn't really want it to be super perfect. It doesn't really matter. It is just for the background, for our bubbles, and as you can see, I'm not actually filling the whole card, because actually I just need 3 spots here, and we are going to create a shaker card with a twist, and you will see it. And I do wonder, how often do you like ink blending on your projects, and maybe you have your favorite color palette for Christmas? If you do, please let me know what it is. Now I'm going to die cut that bubble 3 times, 1 in the middle, 1 in the top left corner, and 1 bottom right corner. And these will be our elements for a shaker card. As you can see, it really gives us that beautiful dimension and interest because it is diagonal line. And now I'm going to use the same aqua markers from Spectrum Noir, and I'm going to create a little bit of background in the white corners because I think that white was a little bit too white for me. If you know my project, you know how much I love color, so I just couldn't resist. Now I'm going to spray some water on top and use my heat tool to create that background, and I really like that technique. You can also use your glass mat, put some aqua markers there, sprinkle with water and use acetate, and then transfer the colors, and that will give you totally different look as well. When this is ready, we can move on, and actually I'm going to use heat resistant acetate from Crafter's Companion, and I'm actually going to do some heat embossing. But this time I'm going to use white embossing powder, and I really like that bubble here. It is so beautiful, and I think it just creates so many beautiful elements. And I do wonder, do you have your favorite stamps with bubbles? If you do, let me know what it is. Now I'm going to use my anti-static bag and VersaMark, and I'm going to stamp that image twice. And as I said, this time we are going to do some white heat embossing because I think for this card white will work a little bit better than gold because we are going to have gold in the middle of a card. So as you can see, I'm using Cosmic Shimmer white embossing powder. As you can see, I don't really have much left, so maybe in some time I have to buy a new one. And if you do have your favorite white embossing powder, please let me know what it is. Now I'm going to heat set it, and it's always a good idea to heat set your tool for about 20 seconds before you start melting that powder on your acetate. So now, as you can see, we can see that bubble coming through, and I'm using my scissors to actually cut it out, but I'm leaving a big gap, and this way we can create our shaker elements. And now I'm going to use red liner tape 3mm from Crafter's Companion, and I'm going to go around that bubble. And what's really crucial, whenever you create any shaker card, don't have any gaps, especially when you put double-sided foam adhesive, because if you do have gaps, all those shaker elements can go away. And that's not what we want. We just want to create something fun that will last for a very long time. When the tape is ready, I'm going to burnish it with my pokey tool, peel it off, and actually adhere all those beautiful elements we created on acetate. And this time I'm going to have that heat embossing on the front. So inside I won't really have that embossing, because when I put the sequins I was really worried that they're going to damage that heat embossing. That's why I decided to have it at the front of a card. So as you can see, we're missing the middle bit, and to do it I'm going to use the same acetate But this time we're not going to die cut it, we are going to emboss. So check your manual for your die cutting machine how to emboss with your cutting dies. I'm not really sure if you can see it here, but in real life it looks so beautiful on acetate. And I'm going to use metallic markers from Noir, and this one is Antique Elements, and I'm going to use Asian Bronze color. And literally I'm just going to color inside, but I did it on the back. And I think that is actually the trick whenever you use metallic markers on acetate. Don't do it on the front, do it on the back. And it's always a good idea to have some white card or copy paper underneath so you can see if you missed any spots. And if you do, go back and do it again. That really takes no time, but it is so beautiful. Using my scissors, I'm actually cutting off the excess, and again I use a little bit of gap. And yes, it is time for red liner tape to peel it off and add here our sentiment. As you can see, I decided to have that bubble exactly in the middle of my card, and I think that really gives more interest. And now I'm going to put some double-sided foam adhesive to create that dimension for our shaker elements. And now I also have gold mirror card to create that beautiful frame. As you can see, I do have some double-sided adhesive on the back of our background panel, but to be honest, you don't really have to do that in that moment. You can wait to do it a little bit later. And now I'm going to use the same baby powder in my dry paintbrush and actually use it in those two white bubbles, because I don't want the sequence to be actually stuck to the tape. I just want all of them to move around freely. And these are exactly the same sequence as I used in my first project. So yes, you can use the same color palette but create totally different cards. And I really encourage you, use whatever stamps you've got in your stash, whatever dies you've got in your stash, and stretch them. Use them to create 3 different projects with the same color palette. It's always so much fun to do. As you can see, I put a little bit of liquid glue on the tape and I adhere it on my background panel. And now it is time to put it on our gold mirror card and then card base. And yes, this one is 8 by 8 inches, so this card is pretty big. But to be honest, I do like making big cards because you do have more space for all those elements, and I think they are even more special. As you can see, this is a 10th fold card, and it's always a good idea to burnish it from the inside. And using the smaller die, I actually die cut that bow and I adhere it, and it is time to add some gold gems in the corner. And I do think they go so well with those gold sequins and also the gold metallic pen in the middle of the card. For card number 3, I decided to use the L size. As you can see, I've got my card base, I folded it in half, and now I've got slightly smaller panel. And I'm going to use 2 circle dies from my stash, and I'm going to attach them to my front panel and also the card base using low tack tape, because I'm going to cut through both layers and this will give me that kinetic element. And to be honest, I wasn't really happy with those circle dies. The bigger one didn't really cut through properly. I had to go through my die cutting machine 3 times just to make sure it did cut. So if you do have your favorite circle cutting dies, please let me know, because I really need to get some new ones. When this is ready, I'm going to use the same aqua markers to create beautiful colored background. You know how to do it, so here it is, the finished one, and we can start working on our elements. So I've got those 3 bubble stamps and I'm going to heat emboss them with gold embossing powder. And as you can see, this is a scrappy, so 300 GSM white card. All the bubbles are ready. And I'm going to color them in with that green aqua marker. And I think that color combo together with those purples and blues works so well. If you agree, please let me know in the comments down below. Now I fussy cut all of them, and it is time to create that kinetic element. And to do it, I'm going to use embroidery thread. I'm going to turn off my elements, and using my red liner tape, I'm going to attach the string. And the key here is to actually have longer string than your die cuts. In this case, these are circle dies, so just make sure they are slightly longer. And I'm going to attach the string and then put the other bubble on top. Just make sure you can actually see the beautiful imagery created from both sides. As you can see, I'm going to do it with all three here, and it will be time to attach it. And it's always a good idea to actually have your background panel ready, because first we are going to work on our card base. And if you have never ever created a spinning card, I really hope this video will inspire you to do so, because it is so much fun. And whenever the recipient opens the envelope and takes the card out, all those elements spin. Just make sure you twist the string before you put your card in the envelope. As you can see, I'm working on my card base, and actually I'm attaching the red liner tape. And it's always a good idea to burnish it with your pokey tool, peel off. And whenever you create a spinning card, make sure the string is super straight. And as you can see, I tangled it at the top and the bottom, because that really makes a difference. And I started with the biggest one, then I've got the smaller one in the middle, and on the right hand side I've got that beautiful bubble as well. So in this case, we do have three of them again. And whenever you create any watercolor card or elements for your project, I really encourage you to actually use some double-sided tape on the back, because that will help your card to straighten later on. And now I added few drops of my liquid glue, one and only magic glue. It is time to put our background, and something is missing. And I thought, why not create a gold frame using the same gold mirror card I used for the previous project. And our card is nearly done. We just need a sentiment, and with the die cut I created for the second card, I do have that bubble, so I use my pokey tool to actually and then I do have that Merry Christmas. As you can see, I've got another DL size card base. I actually trimmed it slightly on the shorter side, and using my double-sided tape, I'm going to attach it inside. And again, it's always a good idea to burnish it with your pokey tool. And this card, you can actually have lots of space to write your message, because if I just leave it with those bubbles, it will be very tricky to write your message, because you could see through. But this way, when you open the card, yes, you do have lots of space. As you can see, I attached that Merry Christmas, and it is time for some gold gems. And our third card is done. Now it is time to actually spin all those bubbles and see how this card works. I really like making them. I wish I just had more time to create more spinning cards, because I think they're just so much fun. And now you can see all three projects side by side, and I do wonder which one is your favorite. Which one would you like to have a go at? And which color combo is your favorite? And if you do have that Simply Cards and Papercraft issue, make sure you use that free gift. Here you can see my favorite project from last year, and also a different Christmas project. Thank you so much for watching and spending that time with me. Don't forget to like this video, give it a thumbs up, and subscribe to my channel. And see you in my next video.